scale ready and put a large bowl on the top and tear the scale and bring it to 0. Now to that we're going to add 461 grams of bread flour. Now if you watch the intro, I'll explain to you why this particular dough we're using bread flour and not 00. So that's 461 grams, and a scale is the best way to make everything exact. So that is a little over 461 grams. To that, we're going to need to add 13 grams of sea salt. So we'll bring our scale to 0. And we will add 13 grams of sea salt. Really easy to add it all in the same bowl. 13 grams. We'll now bring that to 0 again and add 0.9 grams of instant yeast. Now on some scales it's such a tiny amount it may not register. So that is actually a 1/4 teaspoon. So let's add a 1/4 teaspoon. Okay, now using a spatula, I'm just going to mix that all together. So far, pretty simple. And this is a much simpler dough when you need to just mix it and leave it. Okay, let's make sure it's back to 0. Now we're adding 276 grams of cool water. You can make a little well in the middle if you like. And now we are weighing this as opposed to measuring it out, and it will be more precise. 276. And now we can take away our scale and just mix this with a spatula until there's no more dry flour and we have a ragged dough. Bring down the dry dough, and I know it looks pretty dry, but we're going to get that out on the table real soon, and we're going to start kneading it until it all comes together. So we're going to dump it right onto the table, bring it together, and start kneading it. So we want all the dry flour gone. You'll notice if I open it up, it's wetter on the inside, and that'll collect any dry bits of flour. So you want a totally clean surface and have everything kneaded together into a fairly smooth ball. So far so good, pretty easy. You don't even need a stand mixer for this. You could of course use one if you like to make it even quicker. Okay, all the dry dough is now gone, and you'll notice we're using the heels of the hands, pressing it, stretching it, turning it, and turning it. It's all been incorporated now. It's a tiny bit sticky. Could sprinkle a little bit of flour down on your surface just to continue to knead it until it's nice and fairly smooth. Okay, let's make it into a nice smooth ball. Back in our bowl. Okay, you're going to cover the bowl tightly with plastic wrap and a tea towel and let it sit at room temperature for between 18 and 24 hours for the first long fermentation. Okay, here we are about 20 hours later. It should have at least doubled in size and it'll be nice and airy. So what we're going to do is we're going to gently remove it from the bowl. So if you sprinkle a little bit of flour and use your hand to loosen it, and then carefully pick it up and place it on the table. So what we're going to do from here is I'm going to pat a little bit of flour on it, and we're going to divide it into roughly 3 equal pieces. You can weigh them if you want. They should be anywhere from 200 to 250 grams. So let's just eyeball 3 pieces. So that would make 3 individual pizzas. If you wanted to make 2 larger pizzas, you could just split it in half. If you want, you can weigh it to check it. And you can make them exact if you like. So that one's 213. This one's going to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's 311. So let's take a piece off of this one. That's 255. That's 265. And then our last one might be a wee bit smaller. 223. So they're all roughly around the same size. So what you want to do next is you want to create a nice little tight ball. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling the dough, just like last time, underneath and pinching it on the back. You want a nice little tight ball of dough. We'll do that with the other 2. And now once we've shaped our balls, this will now be tucked away for the next long fermentation. This one, rather than at room temperature, it will be refrigerated. So the refrigeration will slow down the fermentation, but it will continue to ferment and develop flavor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in this container, and I'm going to space them out so as they rise, they don't run into each other. So there we have it, 3 beautiful balls of dough ready to sit in the fridge. So we're going to cover this up tightly. We'll sprinkle a little bit of flour on top as well. And this can now go into the fridge for anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. The longer it stays in the fridge, the longer it will ferment and develop flavor. And after the 24 to 48 hours, it's ready to stretch into our pizza dough. I want to show you another pizza, and I'll tell you what's inspired me to do this. I have a cousin in Calabria that owns a pizzeria that I take my clients to on my Taste of Calabria tour, and their pizza is the absolute best. A lot of my clients say it's the best pizza they've ever had, and they always do not a Neapolitan style, but rather a long oval style that is kind of served family style on the table, so for larger groups or even as an appetizer. Okay, so it's a little bit different. So I've got a double ball of dough for this one. So the others were between 2 and 280, so this will be closer to 400 and 500 grams. Okay, so same thing, we're going to carefully lift it. Okay, and whoops, we're going to pop it in our flour, and then we're going to gently turn it over. Okay, and then we're going to place it on the table. Actually, I'm going to turn it upside down. Okay, so same thing. We're going to try and keep a little cornicione on it, but you can see it's going to be more of a long oval shape. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to push all these beautiful air bubbles into the rim or the cornicione. So even though this is not a Neapolitan style, we're still going to have like a raised rim on it. Okay, and you can also use gravity to stretch it. And you can see the shape that we're going for here. These are nice in this style because you can easily then do half a pizza with some toppings and the other half with different toppings. And then you can slice this into slices like that, and again for small little appetizer type pieces. Okay, so this is a much bigger pizza, so I want to get this up on my pizza peel before I add all my toppings, because it's going to be a little bit more challenging to get it up there. So I'm going to do what I showed you at the beginning. I'm going to sprinkle some around just to be sure, I'm going to get a little bit of flour under that so I don't have any surprises. And when you do this, you'll see if there's any places that are starting to stick or have already stuck, and then that way you can help release them, okay? Okay, let's get this on our peel. Once it gets up on your peel, you do want to work fairly quickly because you don't want it to stick here. Okay, so once we stretch it all out, we'll add our toppings. So I've got our San Marzano tomatoes again. I thought I'd add a little bit of oregano this time just to switch things up. Because remember, this one's not a Neapolitan style. This is a freestyle, we'll call it. This is, you know, whatever toppings you feel like. So today I've got a little bit of pancetta, and I've got some thinly sliced cremini mushrooms, and some Italian oregano, and our fior di latte mozzarella as well. So I'm going to go in with our oregano next, okay, and then our cheese. Okay, I've got some beautiful slices of pancetta here, which is Italian style bacon, and some mushrooms. In Italy, the pizza toppings are very few. They believe that less is more, that a pizza is comprised of a really good crust, tomato sauce, cheese, and a couple of toppings, okay? They don't pile on the toppings like we do here. Typically, it's 2 or 3 toppings, and that is all. And then, of course, we'll go in with the drizzle of olive oil, and then let's get this in the oven. Okay, here we go. And here we have it, our family style large pizza with pancetta and mushroom